Hi, it's Lucy here at Spitfire Audio, and today we're going to be looking at Ólafur Arnalds the Collection. I'm really excited to be stepping into the unique sonic world of Ólafur Arnalds, who is a BAFTA-winning and Grammy-nominated composer and producer. So today I'm going to take you through a piece that I've written with the collection, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how this collection really functions as an ecosystem rather than just five isolated libraries, and how everything is built to just really work beautifully together. So I'm going to jump straight in and show you the piece, which I've sort of written with two different styles in mind. And I've almost written it in two halves. One half to showcase the electronic and textural strengths of the collection, and the other half to showcase the really amazing orchestral and string textures. So there really are two sides to his work as an artist. On the one hand, there's his duo, Chiasmos, which creates this amazing kind of atmospheric, minimal, kind of hypnotic techno. And then on the other hand, there's his scoring work, so his media scoring work, which tends to lean more in the neoclassical direction and contain more scored and string elements. But the two definitely blur together, and the kind of overarching quality of it is that it's all really atmospheric and it all captures emotion really well and kind of conveys emotion in a really organic way. So, I want to take you through this piece now, kind of block by block, and just show you how well this collection works together and how I've worked with it in layers, and also how I've tried to emulate some of Oliver's scoring techniques that I've kind of heard and observed in his work. So I want to start with Oliver's use of rhythm and particularly polyrhythm. And I think there's no better place to start with this than Stratus, which is essentially this really powerful and capable polyrhythms kind of engine, if you like. And it plays a variety of kind of synth sounds and piano sounds through this generative grid here. And what you end up with is these kind of gradually evolving and really beautiful polyrhythms that you can adjust here on this grid. And I really like to kind of just experiment with the patch matrix and just, yeah, click around until I find something I liked. In this occasion, I'm using the synth matrix on number 4, and I just kept as is because I really loved it. I'll play it how it sounds, just the Stratus layer. I'm just using this one repeated B. I use it in the intro and then I repeat it again here in this kind of like development section. And then I repeat it again. Under it, I've got these piano rhythmic waves really this was just like a matter of experimentation and clicking around until I found a pattern that I really liked. And in this case, and it's what I love is that it's really binaural. I noticed that in a lot of Oliver's work is there's really like a lot of kind of stereo candy and like ear candy. And I love that here. It's got two different pianos that are kind of like sitting quite hard left and right and really just like, yeah, kind of pulsing at different times and kind of contrast going from more like tighter mono sections like I've got here. And then kind of so my main melody here, which is this like do 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 thing, I've got using this absolutely gorgeous felt grand piano from the Composer Toolkit. And the Composer Toolkit really like is what it says. It's like a toolbox full of absolute essentials. One of them being this piano, and it's the felt grand piano Coles, and then it has a little development. And then yeah, that was kind of it. And I bring in a left hand. The harmony here, I wanted to make this sound really kind of like small and close and intimate. I've panned it slightly left. I like doing that with when I'm kind of subtly trying to like sit the left and right hands in different spaces. So yeah, I've panned this left. I've got the velocities, they're quite low, it's quite subdued. It kind of makes you feel like you're like in the room with the piano, and it helps that this piano is really kind of real sounding. You can hear like the kind of clicking and squeaking and pedal noises, and I love that. Because I think that something that Ólafur really excels at is this very kind of restrained, organic writing and like understatement as a means to kind of convey big emotions. And I think this piano suits, and actually this toolkit in general suits that kind of scoring very well. So let's continue on in the kind of electronic production world and talk more about what I've got going on in the intro with the OA Composer Toolkit, because this is mostly comprised of different synth patches from the Composer Toolkit. And what I did was I actually played in like a straight pattern, quantized it, and then dragged everything around a bit to make it sound kind of offbeat. So, and then I've like kind of dragged everything around a bit. And that's me kind of trying to emulate the organicness, I guess, and often the kind of like slightly clashy rhythms that you hear in this style. I've got it going on the other like hard pan there. I've got the previous one was hard pan right, this one's hard pan left. And then I've got that's the beauty of these instruments, that they do contain the kind of aesthetic overtones of Ólafur's work, but you can be you and you can really kind of like use them within your stylistic framework. So that's how I worked with these. And yeah, I quite liked that moment and I felt like it was very me. So I want to now kind of move into the more stringy organic world. And for that, I really focused on cells, evolutions, and chamber evolutions. And I'll just open these up here so you can see what I've got going on. Because I really, really made use of layering here. And I really just like went to town with loads of string layers and kind of, yeah, I just had such fun as well, like building everything up. I feel like because everything sounds so good together, you can really just like, yeah, it feels like you're kind of brushing on like watercolors onto a canvas and being very organic and fluid and layering things gradually. So first off, in chamber evolutions, when I start to bring in string layers here in this like development section, I use this Waves Odd Shortest instrument. Which actually has quite, it's, it's like quite transient and it's kind of like, yeah, it's got quite a quick attack and a quick tail, but it's really nice for just like little like accents and embellishments. And I've just put a really heavy reverb on that with vintage verb just to smooth it out. And it's quite low in the mix. And then I've got chamber grid here. Now, this grid is one of my favorite things ever. It's so fun to play with. And then, yeah, you can also just click each node within the grid and just like, you can be precise with it. And, these have like, there are specific note centers and different kind of types of evolution based on the number you pick. But I think sometimes the best things come by accident when you're composing, and it's nice to just click around. You end up finding colors and feelings and tones that you wouldn't have otherwise. And it helps you develop and kind of push yourself outside of your own boxes a little bit as a composer. So the same goes for Ólafur Arnalds Evolutions, which has this very similar kind of interface here. And similarly, I love just sitting and experimenting with it and playing around. And I've used the ice trems here, which is so kind of like icy and otherworldly, it almost doesn't sound like a string instrument. Let's take a look at cells. So I feel like cells really effectively encapsulates Oliver Arnolds's kind of like dual artistic personality of this like really organic, lovely textured string scoring, and then this more kind of like ambient synthy world. Because within here you've got these string evolutions, which are basically like generative intervals that sit on top of chords that you play. So you input a chord. And what the instrument will do is generate these really beautiful intervals on top based on what you select here. So it sounds like completely gorgeous on its own. And you can really imagine that just being like it for a score. That could just be like a layer in itself. Here I've layered them and I've used that full band. That was the full band set. And I've used it here. I really used it to add like body here to the kind of like frequency spectrum a little bit because they've got this like really gorgeous string sounds, to be honest. Another way that I've added body, and this is something that I discovered in writing this piece and I'm absolutely going to use again and carry forward. So I'm just using the single hits preset here in synth one shots. And by the way, all of these are Korg and Juno synth sounds. And what I've done is again use the arpeggiator here and then just taken off the low end a little bit and I'm just outlining the harmony in this kind of like climactic section, and I've layered two of the synths. just love the way it sounded. I think they have such a nice kind of attack and they sound so analog and real that it just worked really nicely with an art. There's a sound there that I really want to highlight, and this is the in Stratus. There's this synth preset called Amends, and literally all I'm doing there is holding it down and moving the mod wheel. But the sound is so kind of unpredictable, both in the way that it pans and the like sounds that come out of it. And I think it really exemplifies something about the Oliver Arnolds collection, which is it gives you more than just sounds. It gives you like a different way of thinking and reacting and composing because there's an organicness and a kind of unpredictability about a lot of them. And for me, that's really helped me kind of score in a different way and like yeah, it's not just like instruments with patches. They're instruments and patches, but they really like evolve and change and they all offer something different and they're all slightly different whenever I play them. And I really love that. It feels more like having a real analog instrument than a patch. If blending this kind of more like production elementy techno world and blending this orchestral world together is something that you've been wanting to do for a while, but you haven't figured out quite how to marry them together. Or maybe you've tried it and yeah, it just hasn't sounded quite like it's had like a union. These two genres, particularly, it just blends them together so artfully and masterfully. So that's kind of the point that I want to finish on. And I'll finish by playing it through one more time. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed showing you Ólafur Arnalds the Collection. And yeah, I hope I've shown you how this collection doesn't just give you sounds, but it really gives you a way of composing and a way of thinking and reacting and writing. So I really encourage you to go and check it out and check out the work of Ólafur Arnalds and really immerse yourself in the amazing sound world that he has created. Thank you so much and see you next time.